Hello and welcome to Confused Reviews, where cartoon drawing reviews movies. And it's such a sigh of relief to see the action genre get a well-deserved revival recently. From the tentpole superhero outings with enough punching to make anyone's knuckles hurt, to John Wick, Nobody, The Gentleman, The Raid, and every bullet-riddled movie in between. Now go ahead and comment with your meathead-roid fingers about this or that, but any true action fan knows there's always been an excess of terrible flicks. But jumping back to good cinema, there's nowhere better to look for an action blueprint that's perfect in every way than 1988's Die Hard. Telling the tale of one man against a dozen German schitzels as John McClane blasts his way through enough corpses and one-liners to make even the biggest tight-ass find something to love. I even reviewed it a few Christmases ago, back when I was still working out what I wanted this operation to be. And now that I've paid homage to the greats and sit as a steamy mixture of those who inspired this crap, I'd say I've developed a style fresher than a coconut to the dome.
No, you still suck.
And I can justify breezing past Die Hard 2 because here's my 15-second thoughts. I love Part 2's winter backdrop with the constant snowfall, but most of the flick is the more of the same attitude many sequels fall into. Good, not great, if ultimately skippable. Also, not nearly enough Reginald VelJohnson. Okay, on to Die Hard with a Vengeance. This time we see John Boy hitting the mean streets of NYC, who has to race against the clock to stop an unseen Simon Says superfan, who forces Samuel L. Jackson to tag along for a film overflowing with fun lines, explosive action, and a pace that requires our hero to move faster than Sonic the Hedgehog after a Red Bull laced with gold dust. And just like I poorly explained with the first movie, the script-to-screen process of Die Hard movies is always super fascinating. The original had this bizarre progression, finding new info even to this day, and Part 2 followed a similar uphill battle. But once you get to 3, things really start to fly off the rails. Like the last two, the finished film wound up a collection of several ideas from many unlikely sources. Initially, numerous scripts were written for Part 3, eventually all being axed by Bruce Willis himself, stating they all seemed to be cheap imitations of Die Hard, which were a dime a dozen at the time. One spec screenplay entitled Troubleshooter saw John on a cruise ship fighting terrorists. And if that sounds familiar, it's because the Steven Seagal vehicle, Under Siege, was being made at the same time, so they tossed it to avoid flying too close to a movie led by that numbskull. As for Troubleshooter, it was tweaked and later farted out as Speed 2. Next, Simon Says slammed its way onto producers' desks. Curiously enough, it was first written to be a leading role for Hot Topic's #1 unknowing ambassador, Brandon Lee. However, much like his fucking goat of a father, he too was taken from us far too early, I assume because they were simply too strong and powerful. Eventually, Warner Brothers snagged that story and intended to use it for a new Lethal Weapon sequel, and I'm unsure of how this plotline would fare with Riggs and Murtaugh. Probably not any worse than Lethal Weapon 4. Nevertheless, it was once again changed around to Mad Lib in John McClane and a new partner, which during one iteration was a female black activist potentially played by Angela Bassett, as they had to stop the bombing bitch while being sent all over the city solving puzzles and math and shit. And in case you weren't confused enough already, Zeus was cast in the beginning as Samuel L. Jackson's mistaken doppelganger, Lawrence fucking Fishburne.
You're as crazy as the people on Twitter. Right. I'm not Lawrence Fishburne.
He asked for a higher salary, so in a strange twist of fate, he was replaced by Jackson while being hot off the masterpiece that is Pulp Fiction, a role that Fishburne turned down. Whoops. We also see the much-needed return of director John McTiernan, and along with this movie, this criminally underrated action mastermind whipped up some of the best movies the genre's ever seen, and also got sentenced to prison for wiretapping in 2007. Bet you didn't expect me to say that!
Wiretapping?
Regardless of his criminal dealings, his presence and style was desperately missed in Die Harder, so he came back to show these chumps how it's done.
I'll do it myself.
And even offered the antagonist role to Sir Sean Connery, but he turned it down. That certainly would have caused a stir.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
So let's swerve our way into the third entry in this exponentially declining franchise, and see Bruce's final Die Hard movie with some mop on top in the highest grossing movie of 1995. This is Die Hard with a Vengeance. The movie starts with a normal NYC afternoon, and it remains calm much like this. So let's jump right into the movie that forever ditches the Child's Play name. Or this, if you didn't get the last joke. This whole scene has a huge pre-9/11 vibe. That wouldn't ever happen practically today. It'd all be green screened while thousands of underpaid CGI people work 19 hours a day. What? Making our way to the police station, all hell is exploding with every set of hands taking phone calls. One set of hands, however, belongs to Arthur Cobbs, played by
Larry! Larry! Larry!
Brigman. The mysterious voice on the phone declares he's responsible for the mess and demands John McClane is dragged out of the gutter to do stuff.
I want to play a game.
Long before Jigsaw, there was Simon, which admittedly isn't as cool or threatening of a name. But since this is going to get complex fast, might as well call in backup. The only guy I know perfect for puzzles and phone call foolery. Billy, you there?
What's that?
Need you for Die Hard 3.
I'm on my way, Sydney.
Over with a massively hungover McClane, of course played by Bruce Willis, managed to have his whole life fall apart in between movies. But being down on your luck is like an adrenaline boost for action heroes. The relatable ones at least. He's forced with the extremely unenviable quest to trek out into Harlem containing a sign blaspheming black people through the mother of all words I can't say. So yeah, our bad guy's one sick fuck. At the same time, Zeus, played by Samuel L. Jackson, sees the incident from his electrician shop and rushes out to see if John's a few lightsabers short of a Jedi Council.
You were on this council.
What?
And in something you might not know or never realized is that this is the pairing's third movie together, but it took a trilogy to get the duo on screen at the same time. Jules never met Butch, but Butch got acquainted with Vincent. And Loaded Weapon 1 is a national treasure.
Is this the Billy York informant shootout?
No problem! No problem!
Just as McClane explains his credentials, a group of
What the fuck?
understandably upset patrons nearly take them both out, so they snag a cab and split. After clearing up that his name is neither Jesus or Jesus,
nobody fucks with the Jesus.
And actually after the Greek god of thunder. So if he didn't name his kids Apollo or Artemis, why not? Back at the station, we see the bomb whiz Charles, played by Kevin Chamberlain, explain that the devices are operated through mixing two harmless on their own liquids that combine to create deadly results. And is IKEA's worst nightmare. Oh, and since Zeus decides to thunderclap his way into Simon's plan, he insists that he joins John for the rest of the flick. Now, Simon might be one cold, mean bastard, but orchestrating Samuel L. Jackson to tag along for an awesome action movie gets him one, maybe two notches in my book. So after being hesitant, John convinces him through a mindset that wouldn't feel out of place for a second today in a movie that's 26 years old.
This guy doesn't care about skin color. Even if you do.
Just try to be good to one another. This world's nasty enough already. At a payphone, which used to be these boxes you'd make calls at before these fucking things, Zeus already knows how to handle the general population pretty well.
Get out the damn phone, lady. Police business.
Only way to make that any easier would have been to kick her in the back of the knees. He gives them the first riddle, and
As I was going to St. Ives, I met a man with 7 wives.
Every wife had 7 sacks, every sack has 7 cats. Every cat has 7 kittens, kittens, cats, sacks, and wives.
How many were going to St. Ives?
I'm already completely lost. Where's Billy?
1.
Buddy declares they were 10 seconds late, so they hit the floor. However,
He didn't say Simon Says.
but we gotta get going, as they have 90 blocks to get down in 30 minutes, in New York traffic. They fly through the park like Premium Rush with more wheels, and he uses a maneuver I guarantee anyone who's ever been stuck in traffic wishes they could try. But even these idiots still wouldn't let you through.
Seize the gap! You old fat bitch!
They decide to split up, which
We should split up.
always works out great, and McClane literally dives onto the train before Tom Cruise made it dangerous. Oh, and some jerk-off gets in Major Marcus Warren's cab, so he shows him how to get somewhere.
Quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Now, what do we learn here, kids? Don't fuck around with people doing something for you. That goes for everything. That's for life. Zeus makes it to the phone just in time, but everyone's always gotta be calling other people, and the situation escalates into something nobody ever wants.
Get him up!
Oh, for fuck's sake. Also, if this scenario is rattling around in your head trying to place it, yes, The Incredibles homage this scene years later, with slightly better results.
Freeze.
And Samuel L. Jackson's acting in this bit is incredible, with his blend of stern rage and calmness really making this part effective as fuck. While this is happening, Johnny finds the mysterious object and saves the train just in time. And I'd just like to mention that this stunt was performed for real and was actually a really dangerous endeavor. So props to everyone, the stunt people and the extras who made an action set piece that's memorable and exciting. It's like that one earthquake ride at Universal. Sweet. They recoup from the blast and immediately are questioned by shady suited shitheads from who knows what sectors and agencies, and inform the trio of who is behind everything. A distant relative from one of McClane's fallen foes.
Simon Peter Gruber.
Simon, played by Jeremy Irons. I know everybody already knows the who and what of this great antagonist, but his nuanced performance and sinister voice expertly makes a mostly unseen villain seem more developed and engaging than 99% of other similar parts. Irons is and always will be the only proper follow-up to Alan Rickman's legendary Hans Gruber, as well as the last good or even okay die-hard bad guy.
Hook, line, and sinker.
He proves Little Brother is always watching, scarring the secret FBI goons, and telling John his next task. To the park. No wait, not you, Billy. Oh, and I forgot to mention that Simon claims he placed a huge contraption of explosives in a school. At least it's not two twerps in trench coats. Speaking of miserable pricks, the media tries its hardest to figure out some hysteria to stir up. Meanwhile, dozens of dump trucks pop in to do... well, we'll get there. And Jeremy, who's British, gets to do a German doing an English accent. So figure all that out. Next, the German goobers make their way to the Federal Reserve, where the real plot can begin. Steal a bunch of gold while the city loses its mind. Would it be a little too on the nose to call it ahead of its time? Maybe. Now, I could drone on and on about how the outrageous hijinks of stealing tons of gold bars with big Class A license-required trucks is out of this world crazy and super fucking cool. But instead, just use Steve-O on Eric Andre as reference.
Let's discuss the implications of the falling price of gold on the global economy.
Oh man, full-on blowjob.
Or I guess what I'm saying is this execution can never be topped. Mark it here, 1995, the peak of action cinema. John and Zeus make it to their next destination, and their task is complicated.
Fill one of the jugs with exactly 4 gallons of water and place it on the scale.
So, the way you do it is to,
Got it.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. After completing the pussy puzzle, they tussle for a minute about race.
What? You were gonna call me a nigga, weren't you?
No, I wasn't.
Yes, you were. Why were you gonna call me?
Asshole!
But there's nothing stronger than a near life and death situation to make lifelong friends. Oh, and as Simon continues to clean out the reserve, all it takes is one petty thieving brat to crack the case.
It's Christmas. You could steal City Hall.
Watch out, I'm walking here.
The two split off, with Nick Fury heading to drop off the last package and Harry Stamper jumping into the belly of the beast. Thankfully, our quick-witted protagonist notices the badge number of the lottery putts from earlier.
$69.91 every week.
Carnage ensues.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
The gold stolen in this film would have been worth a staggering $100 billion. And around 176 today, with each brick weighing roughly 25 pounds. And they just walked off with it like a little kid taking an extra cookie. It's outstanding.
Oh my god.
The pacing just refuses to let up, with the two solving the $100 billion question and trying their best to get the escaping trucks.
Come on, what's 21 out of 42?
I don't have a clue.
I actually know this one, so hold off a second. Since I'm already on edge beyond belief, Simon decides to reveal the school bomb scheme on the radio, causing a slight panic. John hitches a ride with Jerry, played by Joe Zaloom, who is such a nice stand-up guy that I felt the need to give this whole speech just to give this guy some well-deserved credit. So John uses a makeshift disguise and describes Santa Claus to distract the dipshits.
Mickey O'Brien, Aqueduct Security. Hey, listen, we had a report of a guy coming through here with 8 reindeer.
And Jerry comes in clutch with some presidential knowledge.
What? Chester A. Arthur, 1881 to 1885, nominated vice president 1880.
True story. The only reason I remember the 21st president is because of Jerry. So thanks.
Holy shit. Is that guy dead?
Yes, Jerry. Afraid he is.
Jesus Christ.
Cheers. Corn on the cob run through another school, and John communicates a strong message to Alfred.
Yeah, I got a deal for you. Crawl out from under that rock you're hiding under, and I'll drive this truck up your ass.
That's a gross mental image. Simon decides to try and flush out McClane, or kill him like a rat in the sewer. But thankfully, he flies out like Splash Mountain on steroids. And Zeus snags him and bolts. Back at Chester A. Arthur Elementary, Bertram finds the tank, so they quietly try to evacuate. Unsurprisingly, the only ones to question this clearly suspicious event are Zeus's boys, one of which is Aldous Hodge. You might not recognize him here, but this is the guy who grew up to play MC Ren and a ton of other things. Kinda like Elijah Wood in Back to the Future 2. We all start somewhere. Too bad the containers are already loaded with the good stuff, so David Dunn and Mr. Glass zipline down like total superheroes. They'd be dead, right? Now that they've landed on the boat with better precision than Starsky and Hutch, John Shaft is taught how to shoot, almost.
Go take a safety catch off.
And McClane has another hand-to-hand fight scene where he gets gallons of blood beaten out of him, but he still comes out on top. And we can't forget the scene that makes me chew my fingernails down to the damn bone. As the clock nears 0, Charlie refuses to give up disarming it, leading to a great fake-out.
Cake syrup?
With the whole crew together, Simon explains that he plans to sink the ship with a bunch of metal shards, posing as the leveling the playing field type destruction of gold in the economy, and slink away with the real stuff.
You know, your brother was an asshole. Yeah, he really was an asshole.
He was an asshole. You got his number.
Game recognizes game. Zeus and John have a little bro bonding that's super sweet and wholesome, and manage to pick the cuffs holding them on the ship. And after a quick self-sacrifice attempt from Zeus that John rejects,
Just go.
Shut the fuck up and think, all right?
Okay.
they both make it.
Cool guys don't look at explosions.
After all the madness and scenes so tense and stressful they could give you an aneurysm, Simon managed to win. Or so he thinks for right now, as he stupidly gave McClane aspirin from one certain gas station that, of course, is the base of the operation. Moral of that story, and just like the saying as old as time, in a game of revenge, dig 2 graves. One for your enemy, and the other for Die Hard 5. That is the saying, right? But we're running out of time, so let's go. John lures away the German jackass and has but 2 shots to not only intercept Simon in Canada, but, well, take out more of the Gruber bloodline.
Say hello to your brother.
Good thing this Bruce Willis role isn't a ghost, or Die Hard 6 is going to get interesting.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Long live the king, Simon. Now this ending might seem a little out of place with the rest of the movie, having them rush over to Canada, and that's because it's actually a reshoot. Initially, the end saw Simon actually make off with the shiny stuff, and McClane tracks him down after the fact. forcing him to play a game. Russian roulette, but with a twist. Using a bazooka. And things don't turn out great for him. This was eventually changed because it makes John seem kinda ruthless, but I actually really like it. Not only does it tie in with all of the games that are played throughout, but it uses Simon's greatest tactic against him and giving John one final Han Solo type kill. Let's just hope that John McTiernan doesn't give this movie a special edition.
McClane.
And that was Die Hard with a Vengeance, and it fucking rocks. This movie is not only more masculine than dry scooping pre-workout on a bed of whiskeys and steak, but is a thrill ride cranked to the absolute limit. Every scene and setup works very well, and the pace is so sporadic and fast that it really forces the viewer's engagement. The larger scale also adds a lot too. We went from a claustrophobic man against the odds done twice, and instead of trying that again, they go balls out all across the city. The subway explosion and taxi chase are my personal favorite set pieces. John McTiernan once called the plot
frail and outrageous. I hope people enjoy its ridiculousness.
And I couldn't have summed it up any better if I wanted to. It just works. The vulnerability of John McClane is one of the greatest attributes to this series' success. Unlike Arnie and the like, who are invincible and untouchable, John suffers through every adventure by the skin of his teeth, always just on the verge of annihilation, but pulls through anyway. It's for good reason he's one of the all-time greats. Samuel, one of the baddest motherfuckers to ever walk the earth, L. Jackson, is equally impressive here. Taking on a Malcolm X-inspired look, as well as studying the man himself, makes for a role I can't say Sam has ever done again this well. The white-black racial tension is present throughout the whole movie, with Zeus untrusting of everyone, but it's handled so carefully that it gets the message across, be excellent to each other, without shoving it down your fucking throat. This is one of his most underrated bits of acting. Zeus Carver gets a 10 from me. And enormous kudos to Jeremy Irons, who steals the show while not being shown on screen until 45 minutes in. His threatening demeanor and calculated craziness makes for a phenomenal bad guy that doesn't just feel like it's the same guy, but his brother, that it could have been. The only real deduction in points comes from the ending. The whole Canada blowout seems tacked on and rushed. I know this might sound hypocritical with what I've been saying, but I mean in the fact that they just blow him up and credits roll. Overall, this movie gets more entertaining every time I see it, and I totally get why it's seen as better than one to a lot of people. Increased scope, expert cast, and a fun time for 95% of it, where it never slows down long enough to catch your breath. This one never gets boring and is the perfect full stop for the Die Hard series. I'm going to give Die Hardest And if the rumors that have been flying around of a sixth movie ever materializes, forget trying to riff what's come before and taking them to space or whatever the fuck shenanigans they'll attempt. Just have it be Zeus, John, and Al Powell sitting around shooting the shit. That's a movie I'd pay for. I'm Confused Reviews. Thanks for watching.